Hi, Beatrice.
Hi, Tom.
How are you?
Good, very well, thank you.
Great. And hello to all of our listeners. Welcome to Coaches Unleashed. This is the show where we help everyday people like yourselves to get great results and life-changing results through coaching, through support, through our stories. So this week, we're going to be taking a closer look at people between jobs. So things like redundancies, things like career changing, maternity, people who are in some sort of limbo between jobs, either physically or even mentally, kind of a bit between jobs as well. So it's going to be a real great episode for you, and we really hope it helps you to get something from this for you. So before we kick off, Beatrice, how has your week been? I've heard you got a good recognition this week.
Yes, it's been a great week, and it was very nice yesterday morning. I woke up to find out that I've been recognized as one of the top 15 coaches in Milan by Influence Digest Media. So very happy. A lot happening around that. LinkedIn is my main platform where I generate a lot of content and do my sort of my own marketing, let's say. And so it was very happy, and so I think that was a good start to the week. Let's put it that way.
Brilliant! Really glad to hear it.
Yeah. How about yourself? How was your week, Tom?
It's been great. What day are we on now? Thursday. Yes, it's been good. Enjoying it. Speaking to lots of people, reconnecting. It's been really nice. And recently discovered saunas. That's been my thing. I've been really hanging out and relaxing in the saunas. I'm finding it's giving me a real calm zen sort of state, which I've been quite enjoying. So that's been my last couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, it's really important to re-energize and find what gives you pleasure and what makes you feel good. It's so important, especially during hectic times. So
yeah,
well done.
You can't worry about things when you're sat in a 100-degree room and then jump in a cold tub afterwards. Nice.
Wow.
Brings a sense of presence, let's say. Which, speaking of presence, why don't we talk about some of our stories from our clients this episode? So, Beatrice, there's a lot of people I'm noticing in the industry right now who are really worried about redundancy. It's something that's happened a lot of, and understandably, there's a lot of people who are getting worried. Either they're in a situation where they've been made redundant, unfortunately, or they've been told maybe there's redundancies coming. I've noticed it from a few clients who have come to me and talked about, there's redundancies on the way. They're getting a bit scared or worried and are looking to what they can do about it. So you've had some experience around clients like this, haven't you? So tell us what your experience has been.
Well, let's say that one of the reasons I decided to become a coach is because I went through several redundancies myself. So I've been working in big corporations for 28 years. So the first time it was really scary. And then as it happened, I went through it 3 times in the total of 28 years. I learned, how to make the most of actually that, and seeing it as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to take stock of, what you're doing and why you're doing it. So it comes quite easy for me to help clients in that situation. They do reach out to me. Often I have clients in different stages. So people that have already left the job, so they're actually in between jobs. But I'm also finding people coming to me when they know that they're about to be made redundant. They haven't quite finalized the agreement with the company, which often may offer them an outplacement as part of the redundancy package, but they want to get ahead of the game, and so we'll be looking for a coach. So one example is a VP, vice president level, who will be exiting their company pretty soon. They've been working for this company for quite a few years. The company will be providing an outplacement service in their industry, in their vertical. But he wants to get ahead of the game and get a more personalized service that works on his sort of internal framework, and that will accompany him during this period, because I think it's also very emotional, to be made redundant. So there is definitely what I call a grieving process that one needs to go through. In parallel, you can also, actually do things to help yourself with taking the most of this time in terms of the mindset and the actions that you actually have to do. And I think that that's where having an external professional help is essential to just help you live this time of your life as an opportunity, as opposed to the end, or a failure. Yes, exactly. I would say a failure. It's often not personal redundancy. It's more of a structural, and I help them through this time.
For sure. That thing you said there around it's not a personal thing, I think that really resonates with me. I'm in outside of my coaching, I'm in a people HR leadership role and have had to go through the process of delivering that news. And yeah, I can definitely say from a industry side of things and the company side of things, it's never personal, which makes it even more the harder thing to deliver as well.
Yes.
Just on that mindset piece, I'm interested there. You said around the mindset. What mindset do people come to you with? And then what mindset do they either change or develop as they're with you?
Often they'll come to me with a mindset of I'm not enough. So low confidence, sort of low self-esteem. They come with some anxiety as well, and with bit of confusion, so not quite sure as to what it is that they need to do, whether they need to jump into a job as soon as possible, or whether they want to take some time out to reskill and upskill themselves and take time out for themselves to re-energize. So they come to me, I would say, most of them in a state of confusion. Some of them are actually seem quite unaffected. They just want to come to me to accelerate the process. So I see a bit of both, I would say. But in appearance, they seem unaffected, I would say. But then when you go and dig in a little bit, they're all, I would say, affected in some way or form. And so it's just taking stock of that, unpicking that, and then just quickly moving on and understanding how they can make the most of this time of their life and this transition. And the type of, once we understand, we do I normally do like a values check-in with them. We take stock of their strengths, what they do best, what they love to do. We also maybe assess their self-saboteurs as well. And we set some objectives and really understand what they need to do to reach those objectives and the kind of mindset they need to have to reach those objectives. And then the last thing that I do with them is also we work a lot on their online presence and networking, because that's really important, I think, when you need to reposition yourself in the job market, is leveraging your network and knowing how to do that, which doesn't come easy for a lot of people, but also knowing how to leverage your online presence.
Sounds like you give them a real, almost a structure and a frame to what they can do as well, from what I'm hearing.
Yes. And it takes a while. So it'll take about 12 weeks, I would say. That's the programs that I like to propose to my clients. Sometimes it can be longer. Sometimes people will want to sort of do an initial part, then take some time off, take a break, and then resume later. Because when they start to realize that it's actually an opportunity for them to re-energize and reconnect with themselves, they're quite happy to take some time off from the process and then, go back into it when maybe a couple of months before they actually need to get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tom, I'm really interested to know, what it is that your experience with people that are sort of between jobs right now.
Yeah, one particular example of a client that I've been working with is someone who's she's been through maternity leave, sorry, not redundancy. So she's been away, but was feeling very checked out of what she was doing, and she used that time while she was away on redundancy to reflect, think about kind of the future for her. So she came to me very much like reassessing what was important for her, and she was working with like West Coast US based company. It was evenings, lots of evenings, and that was fine. But then she had her second child now, and was, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So what she used coaching for was very much two phases, and it's interesting what you said there before around those kind of phases approach. So she came to me with a very, I'm not quite sure what I want. Do I make the most of this? Because I have, financial, security as well was important for her. She was the principal earner as well. So it was more than just, I can just go and do whatever I want. It was, okay, I've got this thing almost holding me here. So what we did was we looked through all her values, like you were saying before. We did the values exercise, figured out, well, what's really important to you, what do you want from life, and from that, but she used that space while she was on maternity leave to really take stock, I guess, and really reflect, because she had that space. And then she went back. So we started off while she was away, and then she went back in, and we'd already kind of fleshed out two options for her, which was making it work or finding something else. She decided that she didn't want to just decide to leave before she went back. She wanted to go back and see what it was like. And then we started having some more coaching sessions after she'd gone back. And it was very, very interesting how we had kind of a 2-week gap. That first 2 weeks she went back, and then we had another session, and how she had changed in her kind of body language, perspective, energy was so interesting. And reflecting that back to her was just what she needed to go, okay, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. It was just having that 2 weeks, and I was like, you're a different person. And then she was saying, she says, yeah, I know, I can hear it when I'm talking, like, this is different now to where we were 2 weeks ago. So that really helped her reflect. I think having that reflection time and then going back into an experience. And you could almost play that with redundancy perhaps as well. And you've got that time there to reflect and pause and think about what you really want. And then when you go back into a new environment, is to check in with yourself and think, is this the real me, or is this what I really want as well? So, and then again, what you were saying earlier around the phase is interesting, because now we've gone to that kind of second phase of coaching, which is for me, is like the mindset, the mindset of what you want to do and how do you want to, before you then how you do it. So now we've moved into that, right, the action is you want to leave, and now we're putting a plan together around, interviews, network, all those kind of things that you were talking around there as well. So yeah, that's been my experience, and it's just interesting that those phases, the clarity, mindset, and then the action.
Wow. So it really sounds like the impact, I mean, actually to start to see the transformation happens quite quickly. So, by taking that time to reflect, it sounds like she had a bit more peace with herself, and more confidence, and more, reauthoring her career, really, at least a sense of things that were in her agency and in her control.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, I guess. It is all in your control, and it just takes somebody to point that out to you sometimes. Um, um, yeah, I had a similar. It's not related to redundancy, but a similar client last year who told me this feeling of being trapped. He said
Yeah.
the words, "I'm trapped." Again, I'm the principal earner of the family. I feel
Mm,
this kind of sense that I need to provide, but I'm also not happy in what I do. And he actually had his hands like here. So I've got this thing over here, and I've got this thing over here, and he was doing this with his hands. And I just said to him, "What's that about? What's this and what's this, and why can't they go like this and bring the hands together?" And then he almost thought about that. I go, yeah, why can't they exist together? It was, this kind of idea of I need, I forget exactly the context, but it was just I have this world which is so different to this world over here, and they can't possibly come together. But when we actually explored it and questioned him and opened up those ideas, it really, helped him to figure out, actually, no, I can take elements of both of these. And that's a similar process that I do with this other client I'm working with now, in terms of opening up possibilities and also closing down some of those possibilities, the ones that she's not actually interested in, and realizing that she can just say no to them.
hmm
Yeah, that was a real interesting shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're, holding space for them, to obviously creating a safe container for them to be able to also bring out what is in their subconscious that they're not even aware of themselves, and you just help them see things from a different perspective, and that helps to unblock and helps them to accept as well, and helps them to take stock. And when I hear you speaking, Tom, I also, what comes across is the need for self-compassion. I mean, going through redundancy can be very difficult. People can start to feel a bit like a victim. And I think that that's also where we can help in making them understand that they don't need to be the victim, but they can actually be the protagonist of this, and see it as an opportunity to finally make the changes that they weren't brave enough to make before, because they had the secure job, and now's the time to actually go for their dreams and reposition themselves in a way that will make them happier versus maybe how they were before, to make them at least grow and evolve.
Yeah. Yeah, and on a personal level, when you go through that process, you drop out of that support system that you have around you at a company as well, and suddenly you're kind of sat there in almost limbo. And where do I go next? Where do I get support? So I think that's where bringing in an external support and a coach can really help. I've had I guess the other aspect to what I've experienced is the proactiveness around getting ahead of redundancy. So I have another client who's come to me who has been told of, again, really happy in what I do, enjoying things, and almost annoyed and upset at the fact that they've been told that redundancy is coming. But they know that 40,000 jobs are going to be lost across the whole company in the world. Then none of them knows where it is. None of them know which teams, anything like that. And there's this sense of worry and fear. But what's really interesting is she's come to me and said, right, well, let's get ahead of this. Let's figure out where I can take these skills and go elsewhere. And, from a sense of, getting ahead of the game. So I think that's another interesting aspect to all of this. Because it's something I'm seeing a lot of. I speak to a lot of people, and there is a sense of fear and worry as well, and just flipping the mindset, like you were saying earlier, into what can I do with this, or what can be proactiveness around it.
Yeah, because it can take from a month to a year to actually bring into effect the restructuring that is announced. So it's understandable that people do go into a state of frenzy and anxiety, and some will want to get ahead of the game, and some will be waiting patiently to see what's going to happen. So we do have, I think we both see different types of people and with different needs. But I do see some similar patterns as well that are emerging, sort of, that people will come to us because they want really somebody that hasn't, that has this, can do this professionally and that can hold them during this transition. And I see, at least my clients, I'm sure also yours, Tom, but I see that they start quite quickly just to seem to be happier and more confident, more energetic as well, because they're actually focusing their energies where they can make a difference in a way that is useful for them and serves them, as opposed to worrying about things that they don't have control over. And I also find that the whole process just helps accelerate the transformation. Yes, I would say. So it's an acceleration.
And what has that done for your clients in terms of results? What have you seen in that result?
I see that the way that they interview is much better. So they actually, energetically, they present themselves with much more confidence and much more openness. And it really comes through in the interviews. They also don't take rejection as personally. So when you start to interview, you will make it through some processes, and other processes you won't make it through. But it's just, I help them to use what they've learned from those interviews where, they didn't make it through, how they can use that information to learn from it in order to present themselves better in the next interviews. And I think it also gives them that sense of, I don't need to accept the first offer that I get on the table, but I can actually take the time to pick and choose and to craft also and negotiate the job offer that they get. So to ensure that they just don't, get the first offer, but that they actually take time. And it's appreciated, I think, when people will ask for some tweaks, to the actual job description or to, what's being offered in terms of retribution. And you say retribution actually in English, I meant by paycheck and the package, the package.
Remuneration. Yeah.
Remuneration, thank you. Retribution comes from an Italian word. Yeah. So I help them with that as well. And having myself changed different jobs, I also have that experience of what it's like to negotiate your salary and your job spec and all that.
Yeah. Sounds like they always come to you with this scarcity mindset of, what I'm in a position of weakness or vulnerability, and you then change them into this, actually, I have all these skills and this is what I want, and I have this power and it's in my control and I can take what I want. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's transformation, right? In positive transformation. And what about you? What do you see in terms of the, how the people that you serve, how do they change, and what does actually going through this process with you, what does that look like for them, and how does it help them?
Yeah, I think so. It's that mindset shift. That's definitely where I see the change starts to happen. And it's quite interesting. You kind of go through this values exercise and clarity exercise initially. And that's what I always spend a lot of time in there to get real deep down into what do you actually want. And then it's after a bit of time that the mindset then just kind of comes around. Mm-hmm. And then we can start to look at plans and action. But it's a very quick thing, it seems. Almost like the clarity takes time to develop and grow, and lots of self-reflection and time to think. And then when the actual mindset happens, it changes very quickly. You almost see this change in the person. That's what I really like. So, okay, now we've got you. We can take you and take you into that next step now, which is taking action and getting what you want. So yeah, that's what I've seen. I've seen that in this client. And, it happened during those 2 weeks at some point, and she came back to me and said, right, we need to make this happen now. So I love that, seeing that change with somebody when they start to get proactive and want to then make that change. So I think that's what I notice when we talk about that kind of beginning and end of a person's journey.
Yeah, it sounds to me like there's a real energetic shift that happens, and it really helps when you have to, transition these moments of your life where you're transitioning, and just having a professional person that helps you. And it's not like you're giving them anything, but you're just helping them access the resources that they have in themselves, right? Because it's all in there. If they're motivated enough, which they probably are if they're willing to invest in themselves by coming for coaching, then I think it's very empowering for them to know that it's all in there. They just need to learn how to access it.
Yeah. And giving them the space to set the timelines, I think, is really important as well, because some people take a long time. They need that time to reflect and take the time and take stock, and that's okay. And I think giving them that permission that they can take as long as they need within this process to really reflect, and then the change will happen, rather than forcing people straight into, you need to do this, this, and this. It's letting them, inviting them to make those kind of decisions themselves and move on. And when you then see that shift, it's like, okay, now I'll, I guess, step into more of a proactive, let's push you on to action kind of mindset. Yeah.
So Tom, just wrapping up this second episode, I wanted to ask you, what would you say to others that are listening that are in a similar situation, sort of, let's say, between jobs or about to be made redundant?
Between jobs or about to be made redundant, yeah. Reflect. I think that's the key. And this is easy for us to say here, but try. It's obviously a very personal thing that people go through, and could be very triggering thing as well. So we can try and say relax, but appreciate that's not as easy it's much easier to say than it is to do. But find a way that you can step out of it, reflect, really take stock of what you have and what the possibilities are as well. And of course, coaching can help with that, but many things can help with that as well. So just finding a way for you to step out of the emotional side of things and try and reflect on the opportunities that come with, and support them, and get in touch with your network as well. I think that's what I've seen massively on LinkedIn. It seems I think everyone in the professional world is very recognizing of redundancy is a natural thing of work and employment, and are very willing to help and support, because people have been there before, or they know that it's going to happen to them in the future. So it's kind of paying forward support. I've seen a lot of people being like lots and lots of support in the community, helping people with offers, support, introducing them to people. So I'd say, don't be afraid to reach out and put that initial post out there to friendship groups, work groups, to say what's happened or what you're scared of, and the support that will come in, I'm sure will be really positive for you.
Okay.
What would you say?
Yeah, I would like to add that, having been through it myself, I actually think that one of the best investments I ever made in my life was investing in a coach. That's what I did when I was made redundant the last time, and it's completely transformed my life. So I'm a big believer that, this would be the time to really invest in yourself. And there's a quote that I love by Einstein, which I wanted to just read out, which is, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And I think that quote is relevant here, because that, I think, is when looking for an external support in a professional help will just help you to see things from a different perspective.
I love that quote. Yeah. Can you say it one more time for anyone who missed it?
We cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. That really resonates. Yeah. A lovely point to end, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tom, just remind our listeners and our viewers, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
LinkedIn is the best way. So there'll be a link in the description to my profile, and send me a message on there is the best way.
Okay.
What about you, Beatrice?
Yeah, LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn. If not, you can look at my website, which is beatriceredi.com, or write me an email at coaching@beatriceredi.com.
Perfect. Great.
Okay. Anyway, we'll put all the contact details.
Yeah, they're all in the description. Great. Well, we hope that you enjoyed the episode today and got something from it. We'd love to welcome more feedback from you, more topics, more content that you think would help you. Ultimately, we're doing this to help you wherever you are in your life right now to make some positive change. So really like to hear more about how we can help you with that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.